Womp womp. Hi, welcome to season 2, episode 2 review. um, all right. Where do we start off? I am live on Twitch right now with my chat going mm, mild, going, and the crowd goes mild. Oh, there they go. They're coming to life. Anyway, okay. Episode 2. Remember, I am not a professional TV or movie reviewer. I don't have a script. I just hit record and I start talking with no editing. So, all right. Episode started out with a dream sequence of Abby in the hospital. And for a little bit, I thought they were doing. Uh, you know how in Better Call Saul, the first episode of the season was like a flash forward to Gene Takovic and what he's up to? I kind of thought that's what they were doing. Like the first scene of each episode so far has been showing Abby. First episode it was at the hospital. Second episode it was a dream sequence, and then them in the lodge. I kind of we'll see if like all 7 episodes do the same thing. I don't know if they will. It was probably just these two, but it did remind me of it. Um. Okay, what happened next? Um. Let's see. It definitely showed that Abby was like she definitely wants Joel's death more than anybody. Obviously. Um I kind of like the scene of when she like Owen's like I have a plan. I'm working on a plan. I have concepts of plans. Oh boy. And then she goes away and he's like, "What's the plan?" The plan is to convince her to go home, you know? Um I kind of like that scene. Showed where her group was at, the headspace of where her group was at compared to where she's at. She definitely wants it the most. And then, correct me if I'm wrong. Abby ends up following a patrol. I don't know if they said like what patrol that was exactly. I don't think it was Joel and Dina. It might have been, but I don't think it was. I think it was just 2 random patrols out. I don't think it was Ellie and Jesse. I don't think it was Joel and Dina. It doesn't really matter who it was that just got her away from the lodge and just moving closer to Jackson. And then what happened? It kind of, weather gets bad and people are out on patrols. Uh, Joel and Dina and Ellie and Jesse can't make it back, so they take shelter. And that was a change that they made from the game where it was Ellie and Jesse out on patrol instead of Ellie and Dina. And they still find this place with the weed and all that. I'm trying to think about what like the significance of that was. It was kind of just a scene. It wasn't really anything. The only thing I can think of is they just talked a little more about Eugene. Basically, Jesse saying what the Gail, that was her name, right? Gail said, like, Joel did what he had to do and he put him down. Yeah. That was kind of it. In the game, Ellie and Dina have to take shelter and they tell each other what they really mean to each other. You can tell how much I like the romance in the games. But yeah, that was kind of put aside. I think as a way to like, I don't know. Again, I guess I'll talk about that in a bit. They do it a little bit differently. I guess to tie it into Eugene a bit more. Who played the game? I guess it was more of just like an Easter egg kind of thing. Yeah. Um, she put some in her bag, which might it could. I didn't even notice that part. Yeah. All right. The real like meat of the episode was you know, not Dina, Abby triggering a horde by falling down the mountain, which infected buried in the snow hear it and then uh, come after her. And then at around the same time, the tendrils in the pipe that the guy found led to the horde coming towards Jackson. At first, I thought that the only reason the horde like came after Jackson in the first place was because Abby like awakened them herself, but it probably would have happened anyway. It probably would. Well, someone can answer me that. Do you think the infected woke up from the snow because of the tendrils moving around and the guy taking the axe to the pipe like at the same time, or do you think it was her Abby's presence that woke them all up, and then they just went after the first thing they could see or hear? I couldn't really get like a firm grip on that. Yeah, she fell into a pit of them, which is what got them which got them to wake up, and then they were redirected because of the tent. That's what I thought. Like, I'm sure the horde on Jackson would have happened anyway, but I think she kind of sped up the process a little. I didn't even see your message. It sped up the process. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the tendrils in the pipe, and then the guy actually discovers it, and then it was like a little bit after that, that's when they started coming towards Jackson. Yeah, I think it was like a combination of the two. It was kind of cool. I really liked the visuals of the infected being buried in the snow, because it's true. Like, obviously, if they get burned, they're going to die. If they don't get their next meal, they're going to die. But the element of cold doesn't seem to affect them, which I guess kind of makes sense considering the tendrils are just using the human as their host. I always remember the very first scene of the first episode in season 1. It showed that like borderline paralyzed old lady and what she was able to do with tendrils in her. She was sprinting towards Joel and Tommy. So the fact that they aren't really affected by cold that much, and just the visual of them coming out of the snow, I thought was really cool. I thought was really cool. And then they all chase after Abby, which leads to, basically how it plays out in the game. It's like, give me your hand, we're going to have to run. And they get into shelter. But Tommy isn't there. That was a kind of a big change they made. Tommy was not there. Now, I mean, if they're going to have a giant horde in Jackson, I guess it's better that he was in Jackson compared to just randomly being with Joel. He gets to, I don't know, show off a little bit. He seems to be like the head of their offense. So if there's going to be a giant attack on Jackson, and that's the route they're going with, it made sense for him to be there instead. Was still an interesting change, though, because, again, in the game, Tommy is there with Joel when all that stuff happens. In the I'm calling it a lodge. I think it's a lodge. Yeah. And then they got to the reveal when Abby is with Joel and Dina. They got to the reveal of their identities, which is, I think, was done better in the show. That was something that, like, people, like, really argued with Neil over. We all remember, almost 5 years ago. Like, oh, Joel was so cautious in part 1, and in 20 years, he would never have given up his name to strangers. There was all that. People were, like, fighting him over that one detail, that one concept. Tommy and Joel just give up their names, not once, but twice. First at the lodge, and then first at the think the gondola area, and then back at the lodge they were in. In the show, Dina, there's no reason to hide their identities really. It was Dina and Joel like, Joel, are you there? And Abby just overhears it. She's like, it was like in passing. It was just like in passing that I thought it was better. I thought it was better. They were under attack, and Dina doesn't know. Like, Tommy knows the details of what happened in the hospital. I'm sure he does. Dina didn't. Like, why hide his name? Why come up with an alias? She just blurted out his name. Like, are you there? Joel, are you there? Yeah. And so that planted the, like, oh God, this is the guy we're looking for. This is the only reason we're here in Jackson. So then that makes it so Abby's like, no, come back with our group. We'll warm you up. We have supplies so that we can go back to Jackson and fight with you. So the reveal of Joel's identity to Abby, I think, was done much better in the show. I was much better in the show. And then I thought this was a little weird, but Abby was like, let's go back to my, again, I think I've just mentioned it. We can warm you both up. We have supplies, and we'll help you go to Jackson for to help you fight them, because I'm sure Joel knew over the radio. Was that portrayed? Like, yeah, Joel knew there was an attack going on in Jackson. I don't remember if it was reported to him over the radio or if he just saw the fires as they were running away from the horde. Does anyone remember? Because I don't. Joel knew there was an attack going on at Jackson. Did he know via the radio, or did he know because he saw the fire? He saw the fire. Right, they were running away from the horde. The horde chasing them gives up and goes back to the horde attacking Jackson. So basically, like, two different hordes combining into one to go after Jackson. So then he was like, no, we gotta go back. He's like, no, we're almost. Abby's like, no, we're almost there. We'll get some supplies. We'll go back. Yeah, they couldn't get a hold on the radio, so he sees the fire. And he's like, all right, but quick. So then they go off to the lodge, not knowing what's waiting for them. And then the horde scene. Which was cool. You got to see more of their defenses, and the sheer scale, the number of infected, I thought was really, really cool. It was cool. I remember saying before I hit record, what was kind of what was the point of the horde? The episode, the ending of the episode was the whole the whole point of it with Joel. Womp womp. Part of me kind of thinks that the horde in Jackson, despite it being cool, was really just there for being a cool piece of television. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing them defend their territory, which was cool. The only thing it did was keep Tommy from going after them himself. Yeah, the weather didn't help either. That's the whole reason that they were taking shelter. No recoil on the guns. I did notice that. Yep. Yep. Not a single one. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. They had those ramps for the oil barrel or the gasoline barrels. I like the fact that they didn't explode the moment they shot it. They shot them to release the gasoline, and then they threw torches on it. A little bit more attention to detail, unlike Uncharted 3 and Last of Us. They have propane tanks. I like that little detail. And then the attack on Jackson is a better explanation for why Jackson doesn't have resources to chase after Abby. Yes, that is a very good point. I'm sure that's going to be mentioned in the next episode. Jackson itself is also kind of a character that was killed off. A little. Yeah, you know, like it's not the safe haven everybody thinks that it is. They handled the first like wave of infected pretty well, but once the bloater broke through the wall, like there was a lot of death in the town. A lot of death. So yeah. Despite how big it was, imagine if it was just a little bit bigger, they would have lost. So yeah. Oh, we just got attacked. We can't go after her. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Um, the whole sequence was cool. There's nothing really like it's its own scene separate from the game. So it was cool. There's nothing more to mention it. Yeah, and then at the end, the guy showing his bite. Okay, I saw a couple people mention it on online. No one seems to know. Was that the guy who showed his bite and then the guy just shot him in the head? Was that Seth or was that just some random civilian? I couldn't tell. I saw a couple people mention it. That was sad though. I like when I like little details like that. You know, like, oh, I survived, but at what cost? Wasn't Seth. He looked similar. Okay. It looked similar. That's all I'm saying. It was just some random guy. Okay. It looked like him. That's why I was wondering. And where was Gale? That's a good question. I don't know if Gale was in a fighting mood. I think she falls under the elderly category. Probably not one for fighting. Anyway, and then we get and Tommy fought a bloater himself. That was pretty cool. Yes, that was the other thing. When Tommy was randomly like in the middle of the street with the infected running this way and this way and this way, and he's just hyper focused on the bloater. I saw that too. I saw it and I was like, really, game? Or game? Really, show? Really? Really? Tommy's over there going, I part the Red Sea. Bloater! I saw that too. Yeah. Um, I know. Wouldn't have been cool if Gustavo Santaolalla takes his banjo and just would have been cool. Um, yeah, and the bloater like corners him, but he uses the remainder of his flamethrower to do him in. I like the effect of the bloater's skin like bubbling when he fell. I like that. It's like, oh, the fire had a little bit of a delayed reaction on him. Tommy was out of fuel, and he's just sitting there, and he's just like, let him cook. Let it cook. Let it cook. I got this. And then, yeah, it was. Every survivor in Jackson's gonna need therapy. Gail's stock just went through the roof. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Then, okay, we get to the scene. The scene. And I don't know if it's a full consensus. I think the game did it better. I think the game did it better. For a couple different reasons. A couple different reasons. One, she monologued a lot. Abby monologued a little bit too much. Which wouldn't have been a problem if they didn't show them at the hospital in the very first scene of the first episode and like the dream sequence of her in the hospital. I think if again, Abby's group arriving in Jackson was all you ever saw, the monologuing would have helped. But because you had that scene at the hospital on the opening of the season, where it's like, we're gonna find him, we're gonna kill him slowly, you know, yeah, I don't feel like you needed that and the extra monologuing. So I feel like you can have the hospital scene, but you can have it play out like it did in the game. Or you don't have the scene in the hospital, like them burying the fireflies, and have the monologuing. Having one or the other works. Having both doesn't really. That's kind of what I felt about it. A little too much talking. Maybe it's to drag it out to make it feel like Ellie's going to get there in time to save the day. But yeah. And again, the other change was having, like I mentioned, having Dina there instead of Tommy. Again, Tommy was busy. That's fine. I also think this is what someone else said. I read this online and it made sense. What was it? It was, I feel like they didn't do enough to show how close Ellie and Dina have gotten, so that when Ellie does decide to go after them in Seattle, that Dina goes with them. Like in the game, they had the scenes at the party, but then they had them taking shelter together in the weed, and yeah. So obviously they were very close from that point forward. Without that scene and those moments, if Tommy was there instead, I don't feel they're close enough for Dina to just abandon her home and go after them with her. So, like I said, it's a theory, or like it's a way of thinking about it. And yeah, of course she sees the giant WLF logo on their jacket. I'm sorry. Did you guys know that's basically the same plot as one of the worst video games of all time, Ride to Hell Retribution? It's one of the worst video games ever made, and it's basically the same plot. Oh, they killed my brother. Oh, their jacket has this giant logo. I know where to find them. No, even in the trailer for episode 3, they did, like, Dina had someone do a sketch of their logo to the best of her memory. I know it's the same as the game. I'm just saying. Rule number 1 in assassination, don't leave any witnesses. Also, yeah, it kind of I'm trying to think, like, because they didn't, like, once Dina was put to sleep, they didn't show any other camera angle on her. She was just kind of there. But they did zoom in on her eyes that were, like, they were, like, shaking. So maybe she wasn't asleep. We'll have to find out in the next episode if it's just her memories of before she went to sleep, or if she really could hear some of it while it was happening. Well, she remembers all the like, before Abby, like, shot Joel's knee. She introduced all of their names to him, and then, like, while she was still awake too. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the. Yeah, it was a lot of talking, and this is what I saw someone else say as well. The room was a little too cheerful looking. There was a fire. It was a really pretty room with like the scenery in the background. And in the game, it may be like the single most gloomy room you've ever seen. Dark and damp, and even if they weren't there to kill him, just looked depressing even before it happened. But in the room, there it looked like daytime. There was a fire going. The scenery of the trees with snow in the background. It looked very cozy. And even like when Ellie's having bad dreams on her farm, that area is kind of reused, and like the stairway to the door was also very poorly lit and stuff. So it's like, eh, I think the setting, not the actual lodge itself, but just maybe because they needed, I don't know, they're like 6 or 7 actors in there, so they needed good lighting or something. But it looked a little too uh, uh, cheerful, cheery, not cheery, pleasant, I guess is the right word. And then after Joel is like, you know, you shut the fuck up already and get on with it. I like that line. Um, because I think we were all thinking that. And then from the moment she starts wailing on him, the rest pretty much plays out the same as in the game, with the exception of they don't knock Ellie out, they just kick her in the stomach, which allows her to crawl over and just be with him. Doll. Also, the kill move was a little different. They don't use the club, they use the end of the club to just shove in their neck. Which also, I honestly couldn't tell you if I preferred that or not. Probably not. I don't like the scene even in the game, so. uh, yeah, bonk would have been a bonk. Yeah, probably. Oh shit.
False alarm! They're friendlies. We've been dealing with raids.
You know what's really funny? I'm doing a recording right now of episode 2 of The Last of Us. So we're almost done. We're almost done. Thank you so much for the raid. I did see you get 4951. Congratulations on that, by the way. Congratulations on that. I do have it in follower only mode. I'm going to turn that off just for now. I normally have it on all the time, but thank you very much, Mitch. I wasn't watching live, but I did watch it. Very well done. It's always cool to get under a minute barrier like that. Actually, that's like a 10-minute barrier. Time starts with a 4 instead of a 5. That's always nice. Anyway, this is all going on YouTube, so what else happens later? Yeah, Joel died. Sorry. we're like 28 minutes into like a recording. Yeah, and then Ashley, I thought Bella's acting during the moment she enters the door was really good. I thought that was really good. And it's one of those things, like, I doubt Ellie is ever going to feel happiness ever again, at least in the TV show kind of thing. And, yeah, we'll see what she's capable of with regards to brutality when she gets to Seattle. And, yeah, and then Ashley Johnson singing at the end. That was a nice touch, showing the after effects of Jackson, and then just dragging Joel's body back there. I'm interested in just seeing, not the fallout, but just, I don't know, the scenes. When they all get back to Jackson and they all recoup, Ellie, Dina, and Jesse just mentally recouping, as well as the entire city. I'm interested in seeing those scenes. It's going to be very, very sad. But, yeah. I don't really know what else to mention. And there were a couple missing characters in Abby's group, which I guess is fine because when I remember when I played it for the first time, I couldn't keep track of the names. I couldn't keep track of the names. Oh man. 5 episodes seems too short for what's coming. I mean, they don't have to spend 3 days there. They don't have to spend 3 days. That's why they swapped Tommy and Dina, because that crew had no chance of controlling both Joel and Tommy. Maybe. Yeah, they have a third. I guarantee you the third season is going to be strictly about Abby. I know, I wonder if Danny will be in season 3. uh. All right. Well, that's about all I can think of. Good episode. Good episode. I thought. The Horde Jackson scene was cool. Certain scenes in the game were done a little better, but we'll see. It was just a good episode on its own, and I'm interested to see like the fallout because the game isn't shying away from showing a lot more of Jackson. The game really didn't. Once Ellie and Dina left on patrol, Jackson was just done and gone. Like the only thing we saw after that as a semblance of there actually being a town full of people are the flowers and cards left in front of his house. You know? So I'm interested in seeing the entire town's reaction to what happened to Joel and Tommy and them just recovering from the attack in general. So it definitely has me looking forward to more. Unlike probably some other people. But yeah, that's about all I got. I did enjoy it while I was watching it. I was enjoying it. But I did also mention this like cuz I'm not like I said, I'm not a professional reviewer. I improvise the entire thing. There's no editing as you can tell by the raid. Which by the way, we are doing attempts of Last of Us after this. I just always do this every Tuesday before I start. Oh god, I lost my train of thought. Oh god, I had something. Shit. What was I going to say? Right. I can only people were recommending like starting off with well, did you like it or not? It's like I did, but you can only enjoy something so much when it's a retelling and you know the events of what's going to happen. I always feel like the show in general is for people who aren't gamers. So for someone like me, did you enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. But we know what's going to happen. So seeing something that's original that you don't know what's going to happen, like the very first time I watched Breaking Bad or something, it's different in this case. It's different in this case. By the way, Karam, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. But yeah, I just do remember I thought Joel's death scene in the game was done, even though I don't like that scene in general. I thought it was done better in the game. It kind of felt like with all the chatting Abby did to Joel, it's like the show was kind of talking down to us a little bit. Like they're not smart enough to put the pieces together themselves. I mean, you showed them burying the fireflies at the hospital. You showed Abby with a dream sequence in the hospital. You didn't need all that talking. Maybe they had to fill in a runtime. Like I didn't need Abby to say we're going to kill you and we're going to do it slowly. Like we didn't need that. I'm kind of surprised that something like that was in there. Oh well. All right, I want to get to attempts, so that's going to be it. I'm still just Now that like that all that stuff is out of the way, I'm interested in like the fallout of it. What's gonna happen in the next episode? How people gonna react? All that. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.